The UFO Channel.
A Perth family claims it's been confronted by a UFO while crossing the Nullarbor. Their story's been backed by other motorists, and the crew of 2 South Australian fishing boats have also reported being buzzed by a UFO. Faye Knowles and her 3 sons claim an orange blob picked their car up off the highway. They fled in terror into the scrub until the object disappeared.
For the Knowles family, it was to have been a routine drive across the Nullarbor. That all changed as the family approached the town of Mundrabilla on the Air Highway. They claim that's when they had their unexpected and terrifying encounter with the unknown.
The car was shaking. I wind down the window and I said it's on top of the roof. And all this, I don't know what it was, it all come inside the car like smoke. We thought we were all dead.
And I wound down my window and Mum said there's something on the roof. And I said, no, come off it, you know, you've got to be joking. And she wound down her window and she put her hand on the roof and she goes, my God. She goes, what is it? And no, I swear to God, I'm not lying. I swear to God, I opened up my window and the car started going out of control. And all this smoke, and it was like smoke. I'm not lying. It was like smoke. And gases all started coming in the car. And me and my brother started to go crazy, you know. I thought I was going in my head. Felt like my brain was getting sucked out.
Another motorist and a truck driver also witnessed the incident. They confirm the Knowles family story. Police are investigating the claim. They say the car did have dents on the roof and an ash substance inside. Late today, the Knowles family returned to the scene of their experience for the last time.
And you won't travel that stretch of road again?
No way.
You don't even wish to travel in your own car?
No.
Rod Stephen, 7 News.
Terrified members of the Knowles family claimed a bright flying object sucked their car off the ground.
It was early yesterday morning when the Knowles family had their close encounter on the Nullarbor Plain. About halfway between Melbourne and Perth, their blue Ford Telstar was chased by what they told police was an extremely bright white light. The egg-shaped object hovered above the car, lifting it more than a metre off the ground. Police at Ceduna in South Australia were today at a loss to explain the sighting.
The sun.
Samples of ash taken from the Knowles car have been sent to police forensic scientists for study. So far, the results of those tests are unknown. Tony Coughlin, Eyewitness News.
It wasn't seem to be there, you know what I mean? It seemed to, I don't know, kind of grabbed the car. The car started to smoke, more or less. The car started to smoke up. It felt like something was on the car, but we couldn't really explain it. And all the dogs in the car started to go crazy. And inside the car, all the cars started to smoke. You know, it's wound down the windows and the car started to smoke up inside. And we started, it was really...
Where did you think the smoke came from?
I couldn't really think anything, you know. It's just, you know...
What did it smell like?
It smelled like dead bodies or something, you know. It just smelled so really foul, you know. It's real sickening. It smelled like gas or something. I can't explain.
Police and locals are puzzled about that too. Both the UFO and the car were travelling at about 200 kilometres an hour when the egg-shaped object lost its grip. On impact with the road, the car's rear right-hand tyre burst. Nobody can yet explain why the blue Ford Telstar didn't flip out of control, killing all the occupants. Nor is there any logical explanation for the almost perfect circular cut around the ruined tyre's outer casing, or the symmetrical dents on the car's roof.
At 5:30 Western Australian time this morning, they say a bright light appeared above them, picked up their blue Ford Telstar, shook it and then dropped it, bursting a tyre, denting the vehicle and leaving ash inside and out. It was broad daylight. Coming the other way, a semi-trailer and a third vehicle. The semi-driver has reported the same amazing story. Faye Knowles and her 3 grown-up children were in shock when they told their story to Ceduna Police. Officer in charge, Jim Fennell, related to us the terrifying account of the moments following the Knowles' supposed close encounter.
The occupants left the car, ran into the scrub and hid. The object came back again and circled around and flew off.
Do you have any reason to doubt their story at all?
Well, I saw the people. They were certainly scared. They were visibly shaken. No, I have no reason to doubt that something happened. And also, bearing in mind that a semi-trailer driver and not a motorist witnessed it.
This afternoon we spoke exclusively to Sean Knowles, who was in the car at the time, and he has no doubts at all about his astounding story.
When it was on our car, once I got the blowout, and we had this, all of us, we had this real weird feeling going through us.
How do you feel now?
Oh, I don't feel too bad now.
The Knowles family have been advised by police to have their car checked out by scientific experts in Adelaide. This is Mike Smithson for 7 News.
The Knowles family was today still battling to come to grips with their outback ordeal, which has flung them into the international spotlight.
They can believe what they want, but what I believe, what I have seen, like I said, if they don't want to believe it, they can. Problem. It's their problem, yeah.
The Knowles claim they were hounded by a bright egg-shaped object as they were travelling along the air highway near the South Australian border early Wednesday morning. Yesterday, visibly shocked family members told 7 News how, when they'd attempted to get away from it by travelling at up to 200 kilometres an hour, the object landed on their car and lifted it off the ground. They told how they felt like they were dying, their voices changed, and their car was shrouded in a putrid black mist when they opened their windows. Mrs. Knowles described touching a spongy object on top of the car before it lost its grip. Wollongong research physicist Glenn Moore says the sighting of a bright light, violent shaking, vehicle damage, the smell and depositing of powdery material are consistent with the falling of what's called a carbonaceous meteorite. As for the other circumstances which defy logical explanation...
There are some aspects of it that I have difficulty with. I can't comment in detail about some of the things they said. I noticed some confusion as to whether the car was actually picked up or not. I certainly could understand the massive shockwave that would push the car down, because in some cases where very large meteorites have fallen, trees have been knocked down, leaves stripped off trees by the pressure wave.
It's now a matter of tests being carried out on the dust found in the Knowles car. Forensic police have taken samples, but results won't be known until next week. Of all the attention the incident has attracted, at least one effort is worth a chuckle. The Knowles say their rear right car tyre burst during their encounter, and police and locals say it's a miracle the car didn't roll, killing them. A great promotion for their tyres, perhaps, and the Dunlop company was first off the mark, with this full-page ad worth $10,000 in today's Australian, assuming the Knowles car wasn't equipped with one of their treads. But they got it wrong, all because nobody bothered to check their facts. The Knowles blue Ford Telstar was in fact fitted with Dunlop Grand Prix radials. While there might be a few red faces ducking UFOs at Dunlop, they have scored some additional free publicity. Maybe next week you'll see an ad reading something like this. Now, what about Ford? How can they go past a Telstar being hit by an ET? Astrid Adzis, 7 News.
7 News impounded the Knowles car in Woodner on South Australia's Eyre Peninsula, then hired scientists from the Australian Mineral Development Laboratories to carry out extensive tests on it. The Knowles maintain a UFO buzzed their blue Ford Telstar early Wednesday along the Nullarbor, then briefly lifted off the highway, causing the rear right tyre to burst. The terrified family also claimed the inside of the car shook violently and became filled with a foul-smelling mist and a black powdery substance.
I swear to God, I'm not lying. I swear to God, I opened up my window, the car started going out of control. And all this smoke, and it was like smoke. I'm not lying. It was like smoke. And gases all started coming in the car. And me and my brother started to go crazy, you know. I thought it was going in my head. Felt like my brain was getting sucked out.
Amdel scientist Monty Luke went over the car thoroughly before taking samples back to Adelaide for more comprehensive testing. The results released exclusively today show there's no evidence to support the Knowles claims a UFO landed and dented the roof or had been responsible for the damaged tyre and material found on the car.
Oh, the material that we found on the brakes, or behind the brakes on the front of the car is fairly typical of abraded brake linings and the brake disc. So it's quite typical material be found on the inside underneath most cars in Australia.
And what about that shredded tyre?
No, I've seen this sort of structure before. It's quite typical of a tyre that's been driven on.
They're saying it's sort of calling us liars. And that's not true. What we know what happened to us, and it did happen to us. There's definitely something out there.
Meanwhile, the results of police tests won't be known until the end of next week. Frank Pangallo, 7 News.
The spotlight has now fallen on one of the most remote corners of Australia. Outsiders have become curiouser and curiouser about sightings which have always held enormous fascination. But the down-to-earth locals on the Nullarbor and Eyre Peninsula will say matter-of-factly that seeing UFOs is nothing new. But they mostly keep their experiences to themselves because they say no one would believe them anyway. Alan Stewart is the Highways Department foreman at Mundrabilla, where the Knowles family allege their UFO encounter. He staunchly believes in UFOs after seeing them regularly in the area over many years.
See lights stop, move, turn, circles. Like meteorite satellites don't do U-turns. They go straight line. You stop and turn.
Alan, in fact, believes he saw the same light the Knowles family were terrified of a few hours later.
There was a light hanging around. There was some light go across the north and one went northwest, then it turned. And I sat out that morning about 2 o'clock in the morning. I sat out for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
And there are many similar case histories.
Just driving along at night time, just after 9 o'clock, I saw this great big light hovering in the air, or don't know how far away. To me it looked like about 10, 12 k's, and it just was there for about 5 to 7 minutes, and it just seemed to disappear.
The level-headed locals all speak of bright lights which travel very fast, change directions many times, are very silent even though they appear close by, and which disappear almost magically. Well, what do you think about that family from Western Australia who had that experience on the Nullarbor?
Well, I believe it has to be a UFO. Yeah, I believe it. Mm.
Tests by Adelaide scientists on the blue Ford Telstar have ruled out the claim by the Knowles family of Perth that a UFO landed on the car's roof and lifted it off the road. Analysis of black material on the car reveals it's mostly iron oxide, consistent with residue from worn brake linings. And they say the almost perfect cut on the right rear tyre was probably caused by driving a considerable distance on the rim, which may also explain the violent shaking and putrid-smelling smoke that filled the interior. The family has rejected the findings and is adamant an egg-shaped object attacked their car early Wednesday morning. The Victorian-based UFO Research Society, the oldest group of its kind in Australia, isn't convinced by the results either. The Society is sending one of its investigators to Adelaide to collect more samples and check for electromagnetic activity. These will be sent to the United States, where they'll be analysed by Princeton University astrophysicist Dr. Bruce Maccabee.
This family is very important to us because from what we've been able to establish and what other people have told us, they're not the type who would set up a fake. In other words, they're basically not interested in UFOs. They're just coming from Western Australia to Victoria and encountered this, what it could be UFO or whatever it is, natural phenomena.
South Australian police are expected to reveal results of their tests later this week. Frank Pangallo, 7 News. Paul Norman and John Octel from the UFO Research Society examined the blue Ford Telstar said to have been attacked by a UFO a fortnight ago. They carried out a series of tests, including one for electromagnetic activity, then took samples from the car. Veteran UFO investigator Paul Norman says his initial inspection appears to back up the account by the Knowles family that something attacked, then lifted the car off the Eyre Highway, causing a tyre to blow.
I am convinced that they were telling that they were seeing an object of some kind, and they'd interfere with their car.
The researchers say they're satisfied the report by the Knowles family warrants further investigation.
So what we're looking for when we're doing these investigations, looking for faults in their story. At this stage we've seen nothing at all. What they've indicated in the car is right. We found the black material, found the markings, the damage to the car, it's exactly how they said it was. They also indicated they were doing 200k, which is impossible on the ground for one of these cars, but we did a test here and we've got it up to 200k's with the front wheels jacked up. So it really gives the impression that the car was, or gives the idea the car was actually physically lifted up.
Samples taken from the car will be sent to Princeton University astrophysicist Dr. Bruce Maccabee for further analysis. However, the results aren't expected to be known for at least a month. Meanwhile, the Knowles family is remaining in hiding in Melbourne. They will undergo a detailed medical examination tomorrow. Members of the family have been forced to seek medical treatment for stress and nervous exhaustion brought about by their terrifying experience. Frank Pangallo, 7 News.
Graham Henley has spent 12 years crossing the Nullarbor and he's seen some strange things. Today he caught up with the Knowles family to talk about one of the strangest.
You look a bit better than the last time I saw you.
Graham went looking for Faye and her sons after scientific reports discounted their story that their car had been damaged by a UFO. Graham was the first person to speak to the four after their encounter, and he inspected the Ford Telstar.
I don't believe in little green men with aerials sticking out their head. That's it in a nutshell. But I do believe they were interfered with. I've got my own ideas on it. They were definitely interfered with.
What state were they in when you saw them at the petrol station?
Absolutely terrified. Totally terrified. Their reactions were totally different to a person out of a car accident.
After the reunion, in more relaxed circumstances, there was even a chance to laugh about their ordeal.
These two guys standing trying to pour this fuel in the car. I reckon you got 3 gallons on the ground and one in the car.
Graham will drive his truck back across the Nullarbor this week.
Family claims it was terrorised by a bright orange object. As Brad Smith reports, their claims have now been supported by other travellers.
It was early morning on the sparse wasteland of the Nullarbor Plain when Faye Knowles and her 3 sons claim they heard an ear-splitting whir as they were chased by a glowing orange object. The Perth family was driving east on the Air Highway near Mundrabilla, less than 100 kilometres from the South Australian border. Mrs. Knowles has told police at Ceduna the egg-shaped UFO landed on their car as they were travelling at over 100 kilometres an hour. It swung the vehicle around before dropping it with such force it blew a tyre.
What about the people? Were they harmed at all?
Weren't harmed, visibly shaken up.
When the strange object disappeared, Mrs. Knowles and her sons Patrick, Sean and Wayne found their Telstar sedan covered in black ash. Truck drivers on the Nullarbor say there have been at least 3 UFO sightings since Christmas. Graham Henley saw the Knowles family at a Mundrabilla roadhouse. He confirmed they appeared shaken and upset.
I really couldn't explain it in normal everyday terms, but those people were interfered with by something.
And today, support for the bizarre story from another Perth family travelling along the Nullarbor.
Massive light. It was very, very bright. I mean, it would have to have a lot of power in those lights to light up the whole area, and the sky was lit above it.
It was
strange.
Bright.
It was a strange phenomenon. It was
much too bright.
Experts say a possible explanation for the encounter may be a phenomenon called min-min, an Aboriginal term meaning dancing lights.
Thanks very much for joining us from Adelaide. Patrick, let me ask you first, can you explain to us what really did happen?
What happened? This is where well, we're going along the Air Highway in between. It was kind of like on the border of South Australia and Western Australia. We were driving along there, and we were just doing normal speed and that, and I was a bit tired. Sean and Mum and Wayne were awake, and we noticed this light ahead of us, and we thought, oh, that's a truck, you know. We all thought that actually at first, and it started to get a bit closer. Thought, this is strange, and it kind of disappeared like it went off the road, and it seemed to, you know, kind of fade and jump about a bit. And as we got closer, it just kind of seemed to move away, and when we got closer, it just kind of come back in towards us.
All right, so what happened then?
Well, we just kept on driving, and it kind of disappeared. Next minute, you know, it was right behind us, and my brother started planting his foot. He must have been doing at least 200 k's, and it just started to follow him.
So, Sean, you were driving. What did you do?
I planted my foot right down, and I got up to about 200 kilometres.
200 kilometres an hour, you were driving at that speed? What was going through your mind?
I was hoping to get away from the thing. And we seen it in front of us again. So I turned back, and the next minute it was up the hills flying. And so I turned back again. I had a look behind us to see if it was still up there. It was still up there. And the next second, it was on the roof.
It was on the roof of your car?
It was on the roof of the car. And as soon as it was on the roof, my back tyre blew out at 200 kilometres an hour.
All right, so what happened then?
As soon as the car stopped, I just blinked out, and that's all on a...
All right, what about the rest of you?
We were screaming and yelling, and we didn't know what to do, you know?
We wound down the windows and all this black misty, like a smoke and a light, and we all felt really strange. Our voice started changing, and everything just went really weird.
You say your voices started changing?
Yeah,
It started sounding like aliens or something. Like it was draining our minds. It was really weird.
Wayne, what was happening? What were your thoughts at that particular time?
I thought we were going to die.
Were you saying anything to each other that you could understand?
Yeah, I mean, the alien, I said, I'm going to get you all. That's all I said.
All right. Can any of you describe exactly, or as closely as you can, what this looked like?
It was sort of shaped like this and had a round, looked like it was a yellow, and on the side of it looked like it had sort of bird wings. It's weird.
All right. Look, could you understand, some Australians, maybe a lot of Australians, may not quite believe. They could understand that you're shocked, they could understand that you were tired, but they may not quite believe
that's not
what
true.
you're telling us.
I don't care, but that's what happened to us.
You see, if they don't want to believe it, it's up to them, but if it ever happens to them,
then
and if it ever comes on, then they'll believe it.
So what do you think now about what happened to you?
We don't really know what happened, you know?
What do I think?
We thought we were going to die.
Well, what I think, is either I'm not saying believe in it or don't believe in it. I'm just saying, it happened to us, and that's
It
all
did
I
happen
can
to
say.
us.
And there was a couple of truckies that did say us. They didn't stop for us. They sent us run out the bushes to try to call them over. They would not stop for us because they thought we were abos or something. Because out in the bush, you're not going to stop for anyone, are you?
All right, you're in Adelaide now. You're on your way to Melbourne. When do you head back to Perth?
In 2 weeks' time.
You're driving back?
No, we're not. No way.
You're not going to?
Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with the car.
What do you mean, what's going to happen with the car?
Like it could have radiation in the car.
Has somebody suggested that to you, have
Yes.
So, and there's another thing. There's two guys from America. If they didn't believe this, now explain this. There's two guys from America what are coming down here to suss the car out.
All right, so what you're saying to us that you're too scared to drive back
That's
across the
right.
Nullarbor Plain after what
true.
happened to you?
Yeah? Terrified.
So you're going by train, eh?
Yeah?
Okay, well, we wish you all the best, and we thank you very much for talking to us tonight.
Thank you.
And let's hope they get to the bottom of the mystery.
Well, to the Knowles family in Adelaide, thanks for joining us. And 36 hours now after the event, do any of you have any doubts as to what happened? Do you still believe that it was a UFO that landed on your car?
Yes, we do.
Why do you believe that?
Because we actually saw it, it was chasing us, and all of a sudden it landed on our car, pulled our car back, and I put my hand out the window, and I fell on the roof.
What did you feel?
It was like a sponge on the roof. It was sucking the roof, the car. It was a sponge. I saw it.
How big was it? What did it look
It was
like?
about, I don't really know. I can't really explain.
Did you see anything but a light?
Not really. It was
I can explain it. It was shaped like this. Hang on. It was shaped like this. Had like a little circle in the centre, and that was like a yellow sort of colour. And it had on the outsides, it was sort of shaped like that, and on the outsides it was like that, and in the centre it was like that. and I asked my brother, you know, if that was a spaceship, and he goes, "Don't be stupid." So I got up closer to have a look, and it was moving backwards and forwards. And so we decided to take off to have a look. We decided to take off, and it was flying miles back, and I drove miles up the road again, and it was in front of us again.
How high off the ground was it?
It was on the ground.
I mean, it was on the
It
ground.
was on the ground, facing us when we were driving along.
And then, so it was moving along with you?
Yeah, it was following us.
And then eventually you tried to get away from it, is that right?
It's still chasing us.
Sean, you were driving. How fast did you get up to?
I got up to about 200 kilometres.
That's very fast. Have you driven that fast before?
No, I haven't.
And the car is capable of doing 200 kilometres an hour?
Yeah.
And at what stage did the object land on your roof?
Oh.
How fast were you going at the time?
I was doing about 200. I got a blowout, and once the car stopped, I blinked out, and I don't know what happened after that.
It was definitely on the roof.
How do we know you're telling the truth?
Oh, there was even witnesses.
But a lot of people think that you are making it up. Do you realise that?
That's not true. No way.
When it landed on the car, what happened?
We were screaming and yelling.
And as soon as it landed on the car, that's when my tyre blew out.
Smoke started coming in the car.
Smoke started to come in the car.
Probably like onions.
And that's when I just blanked out.
There was one report that your voices changed, is that correct?
Yes, they did.
They did.
In what way?
Really deep and slow, and I don't know. We started sounding like that. Real deep, deeper than that even. It was so deep, it's really hard to explain. More or less like our voice kind of died out as we were talking.
If a car has a blowout at 200 kilometres an hour, there is a danger, isn't it, that it will overturn. How come you didn't?
There was a weight on the roof, and explain that.
Was the car on the road at all times, or was it lifted off as has been reported?
We don't really know, but we think it has been lifted off the road.
How long did it, how long was it with you, this object?
For about 5 or 10 minutes, we think.
Were there any sounds or smells?
Yes, there was.
There was a sound, and it sounded like a humming sound. It sounded like boom, boom, boom. And when it was on the roof, I wound down my window, and all this smoke started coming. It was like a greyish black mist. And that's when our voices started to change. All of us, our voices just went really deep and strange. And we felt like we were dying. And the brake, my brother chucked the brakes on the car, and this thing just shot off. And as it shot off, we just hid out in the bushes. Got out the car, hid out in the bushes, waited for about 10-15 minutes. Went over back to the car, took the wheel off, chucked that in the boot, got the spare wheel out, put that on, and we just let down jack. We didn't worry about the jack, we just chucked the jack in the bushes, and we just shut off. And then it started to follow us again. And it started to come by then it was starting to get daylight, and it just seemed to lose us for some reason. We turned the headlights off, and that's when it lost us.
Patrick, had any of you been drinking?
No way, no.
Were you tired?
I was a bit tired, yeah, but not tired enough to see a thing like that. And
how scared were you, Patrick?
Oh, really scared.
Terrified.
Scared as I've ever been.
Well, what was your feelings? What were you feeling at the time when this was all happening?
We're going to die. That's what I felt like. We just made us feel like we're dying.
Have you had any unusual feelings since it happened?
A bit sick or
I won't turn the lights off at night. I'm too scared to go to sleep.
Any other feelings? What about you, Wayne? How do you feel about it all?
Pretty scary, mate.
What was the worst part of it for you? Would you be happy to go back there and have a look around to see what had happened?
Not really. I don't want to go back.
So just summing up, do any of you have any idea, Wayne, Sean, you think it was a spaceship. What about yourself, Mrs. Knowles? Do you have any ideas?
I reckon it was a BFO or something, you know, because It was strange. It was following us everywhere, wouldn't leave us alone. I was a nervous wreck when I got up to the garage.
Well, thank you very much for telling us your story, and take it easy on the roads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
On the afternoon of January 20th, 1988, Faye Knowles and her 3 sons set out from Perth in Western Australia to visit relatives several hundred miles away. At dusk, they were crossing the Nullarbor Plain, a desolate stretch of road through the Australian desert. It was here, as day turned to night, that the Knowles encountered something terrifying that remains unexplained to this day.
We drove on, and this object kept on following us, and somehow, I don't know how the hell it done it, but it wasn't actually flying, it was just hovering. It didn't have wings or anything like that, it was just hovering.
We nearly died. We thought we were dying.
And the faster we went, the faster this object went.
The Knowles had experienced abject fear at the hands of an unnatural force. Police offered no explanation, and when the family turned to the media for help in finding an answer, the media turned on them.
Would you please welcome a couple of people who've seen the light, Faye and Patrick Knowles. What was your first reaction?
I thought we were going to die, you know.
Did you know what it was?
Didn't know.
It didn't look like anything you'd ever seen before.
No, that's right.
The object picked the car up, and Mum wound in her window and put her hand out in the roof, and she touched
let me get
it.
this right. You've been picked up by an alien craft, and you've wound down the window, Faye.
Yeah, God.
And put your hand on the roof.
Because I was curious to see what was up there.
So you're way off the ground, you've got the alien spacecraft picking you up, and you've virtually patted it, haven't you?
As this was going on, it was like a really loud sound on top of the inside the car, and it was like a material, like it was like a fog that was coming into the car, and when the material came into
That was your mum's skin burning.
The media treating the Knowles family was ruthless. I don't think one person honestly asked sensible questions and tried to console these people and seeing the state of anxiety that they were in.
I mean, people would say, oh, you know, you saw things, you're making it up,
That's not true.
A lot of the interviewers, I find and have found, make a bit of a joke of it and don't really approach it seriously.
Some staining due to soot from outer space, others staining due to terrified passengers.
The impression I got on the Knowles case that it was a serious and definite event that happened, experience that they had.
Here, for the first time outside of Australia, and without reprisal or ridicule, is the story of what happened on that January night in 1988, as told by the Knowles in their own words.
I was next to Sean. He was sitting in front, driving, and I was asleep in the passenger side, and Sean goes, "Pat, wake up, look at this." And he goes, and I go to him, "What's the matter?" And he goes, "It looks like a UFO." And I said, "Can't shrink." We drove up to it, approaching it, and this thing was, at first, it was just stopped in the road, and we approached it.
Yeah, it was more like an egg shape, and it had like a yellow centre.
Next minute, you know, this object appeared back behind us, and I said to Sean, "Come, put your foot down, let's get going."
And that's when I decided to put my foot down, and it just caught up within a matter of seconds.
Sparks hit the back tyre like something was trying to blow out the tyre, like the object behind us. It blew the tyre out with like a beam of light.
Before we knew it, she just went clunk on the roof of the car.
It jumped on the roof of our car and took us up in the air, like that.
And as it picked the car lit up like a microwave. It lit up really bright inside. We heard this great big enormous sound. It sounded like a motor or something. I don't know what. It's really hard to describe. Like, it made us feel like our heads were going to explode.
Yeah, we're frightened, and like our brain's been sucked out.
Yeah, it was hot. All this junk come inside the car, and you know, and at that time, it was hard to explain because I kind of blanked out.
As the car was dropped, you could feel this object slip off the car.
Not long after, you know, it dropped the car. That's when I come out of it, and I took off from the car. I
told them all to jump out. We jumped at the car, ran up to the bushes, hid in the bushes, and you could see this thing that was still looking for us. And at the same time, I turned the lights off in the car, and somehow it could not focus on that car. Somehow it was working with our lights. As soon as I turned those lights off, it just could not find us.
According to the Knowles family, it was at this point that they experienced what ufologists referred to as missing time.
I think we lost about an hour and a half in time, and it's really hard to explain, you know, how long it did take.
Local police investigated the incident and found several eyewitnesses who corroborated the strange events on the Null Arbor Plain that night.
They were travelling along the road. A bright light appeared in front of the car. Shortly after, the light disappeared behind the car. The car was picked up on the road, shaken violently. The car was covered in ash, black ash.
What about the people? Were they harmed at all?
Weren't harmed, but visibly shaken up.
Many people witnessed the Knowles event, and they were from all professions and walks of life, and they were travelling in different vehicles. So we had people in spotter planes for the tuna boat people. We had the tuna boat people experiencing the UFO light above them.
Police investigators and scientists examined the car and analyzed the sooty residue found inside. Although their findings were inconclusive, most of the investigators insisted the damage to the vehicle and the tires was caused by some unexplained but natural causes.
A lot of the powers that be put it down to the rising sun or Jupiter or these other things which they think ordinary people mistake these things for, but it's their way of getting around it and not having to do anything about it, I think.
We just want people to know what happened to us and that we weren't out for anything, you know, we thought it was amazing ourselves. We thought we'd like to let people know what happened because it's, to us, you know, it was exciting plus very frightening, you know, you can't really explain what it's like unless it's actually happened to you. Like people say, you know, people used to laugh before and make a joke of it, but now they don't.
Family driving across the lonely Nullarbor Plain is chased by strange lights. Then their car is literally lifted off the ground and dropped again by the same glowing object. All this supposedly happened early yesterday, but was it a hallucination or a close encounter with aliens? Well, several other people have reported seeing mysterious lights in the same area, among them truck driver John de Jong, who joins us now from Adelaide. John, are you convinced that there was a UFO sighting on the highway?
Yes, 100% yes.
How can you say that?
Because of the condition of the people that it happened to. When we got to them, it was hysterical, well, out of this world, put it any way you like.
I can tell you that I've just seen little green men, but you're not likely to believe me, are you?
No.
So why do you believe this particular story?
Well, there's two incidents that come up fairly recent in the last few months. One is I was followed for about an hour and a bit by a big bright light, which sounds silly, but I was followed. I was on my own. There was no backup to that story. It did frighten me. I actually kept travelling and locked my cab up and kept driving. It sounds silly, but it's true.
Did you think that was a UFO at the time?
First up, I thought it was a helicopter doing low flying, but no way. It wasn't a helicopter because I checked it out to see if it was one in the area.
So that was one experience. Any more?
Yes, I had another one just before Christmas, about an hour from where this happened. I was travelling along, minding my own business, and the truck just got uncontrollable. I couldn't drive it, so I just pulled it up very smartly, got out, checked all my steering, and everything was in perfect condition. I took off and no more dramas.
So how do you explain these mysterious occurrences in that very spot?
I wish I knew. It's not scary, it's a mystery that I wouldn't mind solving. It's a problem out there, and it's a lot more happening.
Do you know of any other drivers who've had similar experiences there?
A lot of us talk about them, yeah.
What kind of experiences?
Well, the sort of things that, like I've just said, the truck just does funny things, you get electrical problems. There's no electricity out there, so what's going on? Your hair stands up on the back of your neck for no reason. You get frightened.
So there's a whole lot of you truckies who are now believers in UFOs.
Well, whether it's UFOs or what it is, I don't know. But see, the thing that, how do you explain it? You see things and you hear things, but no one wants to believe you. It's hard to come on here and explain it. It's nearly impossible.
Have you ever said to yourself, maybe I'm going a little crazy?
No.
You're absolutely sure that you've experienced...
I've got to be silly to be driving a truck, but that's beside the point.
So what kind of effect has all of this had on you? Are you more careful when you drive down that stretch of road?
Well, we'll be going back again next week.
See what happens next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, every trip's a different one, but this is one that I would like to follow through because it actually happened, and if it hadn't have been for the people, I wouldn't have worried about it.
Mrs Faye Knowles and her three sons, Patrick, Sean and Wayne, say their car was chased in the night by a giant glowing egg-shaped object. The car was picked up, they say, shaken and dropped so hard it blew a tyre. They say the car was showered with dark ash, and police have confirmed that ash from somewhere was found on and in the car. A truck driver has corroborated the story, and 2 fishing boats in the Gulf have also reported UFO sightings about half an hour later. I have the Knowles family in our sister station, SAS7 in Adelaide, for this exclusive interview. Mrs Knowles, how are you?
Not bad, thank you.
If I said to you, and one of your sons, if say Patrick had come home late tonight and said to you, Mum, I'm late because I was crossing the Nullarbor and a big giant thing picked up my car and shook it and dropped it again, what would your reaction be if you hadn't been there?
I would say he was crazy.
Had you believed in UFOs before this?
Never. No.
Were you at all tempted not to tell the police because people may take the mickey out of you?
We weren't going to go, but we made up our mind to go, you know, because it might happen to someone else.
Well, let's go back to stage one. What time in the morning was it when it first happened?
About 5 o'clock in the morning.
And you were driving which way?
Towards Victoria.
And did it suddenly come up behind you, in front of you, or just hover over the car?
It was in the middle of the road. It was, you know, just in the middle of the road.
Up in front of you?
Yeah, in front of us.
How big?
Well, it looked like truck lights to us, you know. I didn't take much notice. Sean said to me, oh, that's something unusual now. I said, I've come off it and you've got to be joking.
Was it still dark?
It was pretty dark then, yeah.
And you thought it was, Patrick, you thought they were just headlights sort of coming towards you?
I did, you know. You see something like that, you wouldn't take much notice. You just think it's a truck or a car.
Were you all awake at the time?
Yes, we were.
Did it make a noise?
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrifying. What was the noise like?
It was like a humming sound. Oh.
And so when it got, you kept driving, approaching it, did it veer over your top of you or what?
I was driving.
You were driving, Sean?
Mm.
And did you drive straight at it? Did it leap over you or what?
No, I had to put my foot down because it was chasing us.
Well, did it get behind you somehow then?
What it was a fair hike back before it even jumped on my roof. Like you explained this, like it was a fair distance back, and the next second it was on the roof.
Did you hear a clunking noise when it got on the roof?
Yes, we did.
And then, Wayne, after that, how long did all this go for? When did it lift the car off the ground?
Start shaking and start lifting the ground up, the car at me. Start lifting it.
What were you saying to each other?
We thought we were dying. Yeah. You know, we didn't know what to do.
Did you shout, you cry? Or?
I was screaming, I was in hystericals.
We were talking like aliens.
Explain this. If you're doing 200 kilometres, you blow out a back tyre, would you roll a car or what?
Yeah.
Does that explain it?
How long were you there? How long were you suspended? How far off the ground do you think you were?
Well, we don't know, because we were stunned, you know, we were in a state of shock, because we don't know what was going on. All of a sudden, this thing's on our roof and pulling the car up, we don't know what's going on.
So then it dropped you and you blew a tyre.
Yeah.
What happened next? Did you get out of the car?
Oh, I wound down the window and I felt this thing on the roof, you know. And I said, gee, there's something on top of our roof. I said, it's landed on the roof or something, you know. And I didn't know what to do, and I was screaming. And as soon as I said that, it let all this smoke stuff come into the car. the car was covered in all black stuff, wasn't it?
Well, like grit or soot or ash?
It was like a soot. Black soot stuff, just coming on top of us.
So then what did you all do?
We thought we were dying. Then we got out the car and we hid behind the little tree in the bushes and it couldn't find us. Then we jumped back in the car.
Was it still there?
It was still there, waiting for it, looking for us.
Was it on the road or
No.
moving around?
We don't know. It was up the road a bit further from us. I'm sorry.
That's all right. And so up the road a bit further, then did it come back looking for you?
Yeah, and then we took off in the bushes.
How long did you stay in the bushes?
Oh, about 15 minutes. Then all of a sudden it took off again, and when we hopped in the car to take off again, it come after us again. Wouldn't leave us alone.
Well, did you... Who changed the tyre?
Sean took him 2 minutes to change the tyre.
I bet it did.
We left the jack and everything. We just left everything up there. We just took off.
And at that stage, did you think you were involved with a flying saucer?
Yes, we really did. We said we're dead. You know, we thought we were really dying.
The question this morning that possibly, the argument against it, whether it was UFO or not, that possibly it was a freak. It was what they call ball lightning. Do you believe that?
No, that's not true.
No way.
No way.
If it's happening for about an hour and a half, I doubt if it's a ball.
You think all this went on for about an hour and a half?
It went on for about an hour and a half.
Wouldn't leave us alone.
Did any other cars or trucks pass you at that time?
Yes, I did. There was a couple of trucks.
We tried to pull one up, but the lady wouldn't pull up for us because she's a lady truckie. She told us when we got up the road that she didn't know it was us. We were in trouble.
Did she see something?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they came around last night to have an interview with, what's his name?
Fred, I forget his second name now, but they're the ones that reported to the police. There was no witness that said they seen something on our car, but they won't give their name.
Went to the police.
Did it, when you were trying to put it back together again today and piecing together what it might have been, did you cross your minds, maybe it was some military weapon, maybe it was some...
No way, it was after us.
Why do you think that they'd single out your car?
We don't know. It was chasing other cars and all of a sudden it come after us. We don't really know. Because there was 4 of us in the car.
So none of you got physically hurt? Nobody tried to... You didn't see any little green men or any men from outer space?
No way.
Before all of this happened, have any of the 4 of you, believed in flying saucers?
No way.
We all thought I thought it was all a load of crap, you know. I thought, come on, you know, stuff like that, there's only in the movies, you know. But the way it happened, it actually seemed like it was a movie.
One of the policemen has already said that that when you finally talked to them, that your mother was really shocked. You really looked like you'd seen something horrible out there in the desert.
We did.
We were like ghosts. We were just like white ghosts.
Did you manage to sleep last night?
No, I couldn't sleep. I'm too scared to turn the light off now. And when we're driving along in the car, I'm frightened that it's behind us all the time. That's chasing us.
Are you likely to drive home again?
No, I don't think so.
Not through that way, no way. We're catching a train home to Perth.
Taking a train back.
Now, the ash that was on the car and in the car, was the ash still there when you got to the police station?
Yes, we left everything. They said not to clean it, don't do nothing with the car. We're getting it all checked out for us. So.
Is that ash being analysed?
Yep.
Yeah, everything is.
Everything's going to be
You
done.
should see the tyre. Huh.
Do you now believe that there is life in outer space?
No, actually, I'm not saying believe it or don't, you know, but what I'm saying is there is something out there which you can't explain, which I don't know.
There's definitely something out there. Something's got to be done. Someone else is going to get really hurt.
What could be done?
We don't really know.
And just one final question about the look of it. Do you all agree on the description of it, or do you have different ideas?
No,
what do you think?
we definitely agree on the light.
Faye, what sort of light do you think it was?
It was all of a sudden it was a small light, and all of a sudden it comes so big like this, like a big ball.
Could you see anything in the middle of it, anything metallic?
We don't really know. You know, we're in a state of shock. I didn't really take notice.
Patrick, is that the sort of thing you saw?
A big ball of water. Yeah.
It was like it looked like a truck headlight, and on top it looked like it had a light, high beam, like a light high beam, and it like a flash. It was kept on flashing, like a...
It's terrible.
And Sean, how do you describe it?
Sean?
You'd rather not remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it at that. I thank you for your time.
That's okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's the Knowles family, and as with all UFO stories, believers will believe and non-believers will scoff perhaps. I've said before, it's always intrigued me when people claim to have been taken away by little green men and flying saucers, that they always go for corn farmers from Iowa and never for a Nobel Peace Prize winner or a military genius.
The UFO Channel is asking the public to send in their UFO, UAP videos to be displayed on the UFO Channel. With your contribution, you will be helping us bring full disclosure from the government about the alien presence on Earth. Don't forget to write a comment, and don't forget to push the like and subscribe buttons for the UFO Channel. Regardless of what any publication or anyone says, only the truth matters.